So we've got in lieu of the Heroes of the Web, we've got a Geek Hierachy that somebody printed out here.
Well, it's not.
We've talked a lot about geekdom here on this podcast of ours.
So we found the perfect thing. Basically,
this has been around.
So where was this from?
Yeah, it's been floating around for a while. This comes from brunching.com.
Oh, Brunching Shuttlecock.
Yeah, Geek Chart Big. .gif. Brunching Shuttlecocks. Yeah, so anyway, they've got this Geek Hierachy. It's basically this chart of various species of geek. So this is ideal for us. It's basically like everything that we've already and always talk about on this show, but in a perfect chart form for us. We'll put this up on our blog as well.
Yeah, we totally should. When I was looking this over, because it looks like an org chart with boxes and lines. Ryan is actually in most of those boxes.
He simultaneously
he encompasses multiple levels
every
of
box.
nerd.
I'm in a lot of those. I know. I'm in a lot of them. I'm in a lot of them.
So am I.
We're all in one of these.
Yeah, we're all in multiple.
It'd be kind of funny if fit down. It'd be awesome though if each one of us fit down one path of nerddom.
No, we should check.
I'm not in any of those furry boxes.
We should do a contest among ourselves and then list where we are for the listeners. We'll color Jeff boxes in blue and whatever. Brian's in yellow. So okay, basically, how this works is at the top of the diagram are those who consider themselves less geeky than those that appear in the diagram below them. In cases where they appear parallel to one another, you have circumstances where maybe both of them insist that they're less geeky than the other and vice versa. And those are interesting little moments in the chart. So we don't have to read every column, but some of them are definitely worth looking at.
What's at the very top?
At the very top, we have you published science fiction. You're a published science fiction or fantasy author and or artist.
Okay, published being the key word, right?
Right, being the key word.
Okay.
And then below that, you could be a science fiction fan and fantasy literature fan.
Okay.
And those are just the two top. And then it branches out into 8 various forms. And on the far column, we have people who majored in folklore and mythology. Pretty respectable. And then you can sort of they'll condescend to Ren Fair folk, and then it says SCA folk. I don't know what SCA is.
Oh, Society of Creative Anachronisms.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, and both.
Don't look at me like I was in it. I just happen to know what it stands for.
You're in there. So both of those will condescend to people who buy expensive replicas of fictional fantasy swords.
Uh-oh. And then I've looked at them. I've never actually paid.
And then at the bottom, they all converge.
I've wielded
so
one.
Move over, and you'll have comic book fans, and these are parallel to people who. I don't know. Yeah, so a comic book fan is about the same as someone who majored in folklore and myth. And they're superior to a comic book fan who reads only superhero comics, which is funny because I was actually last week distinguishing that, I don't read, I read a lot of comics, but just not superhero comics.
Right.
So I'm busted. Below that is actually who I am, which is a comic book fan who reads superhero comics, but that just doesn't mean exclusively. And below that are comic book fans who only read superhero comics.
So they're geeky. To you, they're geeky.
And there are more levels than that, though.
So again, the folklore major can condescend to me, and I can condescend to Ryan.
What's the bottom level comic one?
Below that are comic book fans who only read X-Men spin-offs.
I love that one.
So the superhero guys are looking down on those guys.
Right. So, and that is true, because look, Ryan, I've condescended to you for only being into superheroes, right?
Which I am
not. And you've condescended to oh yeah, great, another X-Men book or something.
That dork only reads ecstatic.
I've heard you say that. Yeah. Okay,
so wait a minute. Go back in that list. The fantasy sword guys are above the comic book guys.
No, these are all parallel.
They run parallel.
I'm going down.
Okay.
So basically, he's kind of reading across.
So basically,
sorry.
You'll have to go to the website to get.
Because I was going to dispute that.
Yeah, but the people who buy expensive replicas are parallel to people who only read X-Men spin-offs, and both of those will condescend to one another, insisting that it's the other that's
right. The other one is truly inferior.
Yeah. So. Then we have anime fans who insist on subtitles, and this chart places them parallel with anime fans who don't care about subtitles.
They're equal.
They're equal. Anime fans are pretty much
Below both of these, you have anime fans who use the term Japanimation. And then this one's weird. Then below that, it's Pokemon fans over the age of 6.
Sorry. Where does hentai fall on that?
I found
that one hurts personally.
Me too.
Yeah.
So how far down the list is hentai?
So that's mess. Neither of you can clown on the Japanimation guys.
Wait,
Well, according to that list, see, I would argue.
You would make your own list.
I would put the anime guys below me as a Pokemon fan.
So, moving over yet another column, we have video games. So, we're pretty fine.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay.
Video gamers. Role-playing gamers are below us.
Hey.
Live-action role-playing gamers are below them.
Okay.
And 13-year-old gamers of any set are below all of those.
Ouch.
So, again, age is like the lowest,
Wow, I don't know about that either.
I don't know. I want to see needs a little revision on that one.
Then,
I mean, not to knock myself, but wouldn't you want to put like 40-plus gamers below like the under 13 gamers?
I know, right? Because that's like a natural thing to be 13, and clearly this is biased. This was written by a 40-plus person.
Yeah.
This is undisputed, by the way.
This is gospel.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, I was going to say the further you get to the top of that chart, the non-nerd style is the guy who authored it.
Right.
Okay, so given that these are parallel columns here, where do live action role players fit? Like in the next to like the comic book.
Comic
they
book
are
fans
as
who only
geeky
read
as
superhero comic books.
That's about right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now
I agree with that.
Here's where it starts to get fun. Now we start to move into true freakdom. One more click over, where we have amateur sci-fi and fantasy writers. Of course, those are below the published ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who stand above fanfic writers.
Mm.
Then
I know where this is going.
They stand above erotic fanfic writers.
Oh boy.
I knew where. Okay.
Yeah.
However, erotic fanfic writers and fanfic writers who put themselves into their own stories both stand parallel, insisting that each is less nerdy than the next.
So we've got a diverging path here.
Yeah.
However,
I really need this chart in front of me in order to really appreciate it.
Both erotic fanfic writers and fanfic writers who put themselves in their own stories insist that they are superior to erotic fanfic writers who put themselves in their own stories.
So they're like having sex with Captain Kirk or something,
right?
That kind of thing.
Okay, this is ultimately they're the if this is like the diagram of like Dante's Inferno or something, we've got farther down to go. And you'll get there.
So which concentric circle
our
are we at
descent
now?
is not complete. We're still moving through the concentric rings.
Yeah.
This one is great because the fact also that we know about all this shit.
Well, that proves that we belong on the list.
Right. Okay. So amateur sci-fi fantasy artists, this is opposed to writers.
Okay.
Are superior to amateur sci-fi fantasy artists who can't get breasts right. And that's pretty common.
Yeah. Usually they're rather large. Yeah.
The sci-fi artist who can't draw boobies is superior to people who alter scans of sexy and or porn models to make them look like superheroines.
Which we've covered on this very podcast.
Now that is rad because, I don't know if we talked about, but like I was sending the links around everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh no, we were told. Yeah, we all were.
What is that site?
Oh God, I totally forgot.
Or they had like hot superheroes.
Well, they
hot
basically
porn stars
take
with
porn
skins
stars, and sometimes they're in completely inappropriate poses because they're basically photoshopping their sex partners out of it.
But they've got on like a Green Lantern outfit or something.
And photoshopping, like a Catwoman suit on them. Mm-hmm. So you're like, why are her legs like that? Why is she doing that? Like, who would
I don't
stand
remember
there?
the Flash doing that.
Yeah. So, but there's like that site's out there, and
Is
there's
that in
tons
between
and tons of stuff like that on it. Okay, of course, science fiction television fans are their own breed at a top.
Uh-oh.
It's respectable enough. It's up there with video gamers.
Okay.
Are better than Trekkies. That can be cool because you're
I'm
like, hey, I watch Battlestar Galactica.
Sure.
Yep.
I look down on Trekkies, and I like Battlestar, so I'm with that one.
Okay. There you go. But Trekkies will condescend to Trekkies who speak Klingon. And Trekkies who speak Klingon stand above Trekkies who get married in Klingon garb.
Oh, boy. Oh. Yeah.
Now, all of these people are superior to furries.
You mean everybody we've mentioned so far?
Everybody so far.
All converge to furries.
All roads lead
Everyone
to
is superior.
That's awesome.
Now, the furry is not the bottom of the dunghill because erotic furries are a step beneath a furry.
Yeah, okay.
And
we're going to be hearing from those people.
I can't wait to see.
The depths of depravity and geekdom. At the very rock bottom of the geek hierarchy,
fat furries
are people who write erotic versions of Star Trek, where all characters are furries, like Kirk is an ocelot or something, and they put a furry version of themselves as the star of the story.
Oh man!
So basically, when we did our Sonic Passion, Heroes of the Web, we basically it wasn't Star Trek, but it was Sonic. It was basically the same thing. It was erotic furries. They put themselves into their own fiction. I mean, basically by saying you've married Knuckles, you basically put yourself in a fiction. Sorry,
that ain't fiction, Sean.
I know.
And we still piss people off.
So that's the Geek Hierachy, and it was.
That was instructional.
We're better off for having looked at it and analyzed it.
This will be a very handy reference in the future.
That's like a field guide for E3. Or
or this office.
Comic-Con, I should say.
Yeah, or the one-up office.
Or whenever, in the one-up office, whenever there's an argument, you just,
break out the chart.
Check the hierarchy and see if you're subordinate, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Argument over.
We could probably go through the office and place everybody there.
We're all on there.
Shane,
I'm on there.
Everybody's on there.
What we don't know how to deal with, though, is when we're
Shane.
in multiple columns and we're in lower positions. Maybe it's like you are no better than your lowest position in the hierarchy.
Oh, God, I'm screwed then.
They don't have video game writers on there either.
Yeah.
We're probably pretty
I'm sure you could create subsets. You'd have to,
we got to be above furries, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like a half step.
According to that, almost anything is.